All right. So hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for everybody joining this great talk by Tome Eftimov. Tome is a senior researcher at the Computer Systems Department of the Jožef Stefan Institute and a Vice Dean for Research and Quality at the Jožef Stefan International Postgraduate School. He's also an assistant professor at the University of Ljubljana in the Faculty of Computer Science and School of Economics and Business. He's also a visiting assistant professor at St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje. He obtained his PhD in Information and Communication Technologies in 2018 and was a postdoctoral research fellow at Stanford University and a research associate at the University of California, San Francisco. His research focuses on trustworthy benchmarking, meta-learning, automated algorithm design and selection, natural language processing, and AutoML. He has authored over 160 scientific publications, including a Springer book in 2022, and has delivered tutorials and invited lectures at leading venues such as Gecko, IEEE CEC, PPSN, and IEEE SSCI. He's vice chair of the IEEE Task Force on Automated Algorithm Design, Configuration, and Selection. He's editor in Evolutionary Computational Journal and associate editor in Expert Systems with Applications. And he currently coordinates also Horizon Europe ERA Chair AutoLearn SI project. And today, Tome is going to talk to us about leveraging benchmarking data for automated optimization and machine learning. Tome, thanks a lot for your time and accepting the invitation to talk to us. And the floor is yours. I'm looking forward to your talk here.
Thank you, Kirill. Thank you for the introduction and also inviting me to present our research work. So today I decided to speak about leveraging benchmarking data for automated optimization and machine learning. And what I'm going to show is actually not one study, but I'm going to show some concepts on a more high-level description, because I would like to inform you what we are capable to do. Some details will be missing, which are actually more technical details or whatever. But if you are interested about them, feel free to ask me at the end of this session, but also feel free to send us email, and then we are going to provide all possible technical details. So what is the idea? As I already said, today we are talking about leveraging benchmarking data for automated optimization and machine learning. And what we are going to talk about is actually benchmarking. When we talk about benchmarking, we also would like to talk about, once the data is collected, learning for optimization and meta-learning. Then we are going to see one learning task we typically do, which is actually algorithm selection. But what is really, really important for us, it's when we are designing new algorithms, or we are selecting which algorithm is appropriate for a given optimization problem or machine learning data set, we would like to know why that concrete algorithm is the best one. So what we want to provide some explainability, and we will show some examples about algorithm footprints. So let's first start about benchmarking. So what is the idea of the benchmarking? So no matter if you are doing machine learning or you are doing optimization, the idea when you are developing a new model or you are doing a new optimization algorithm, the idea is that you have a set of portfolio of optimization problems. And then the idea is when you're developing a new algorithm, you would like to show statistically that your algorithm is better than the state-of-the-art algorithms. And typically how we are doing this, we are running our algorithms on a lot of optimization problems. When we talk about machine learning, we are running our models on a lot of data sets. So maybe just to be in a general term, I will go with optimization, not to repeat that every time an optimization problem is machine learning data set, and every time when we are talking about optimization algorithm is the same for machine learning model. So when we are doing benchmarking, think about that we have a lot of optimization problems. We have the algorithms which are actually tested there. We have also our new algorithm. And then the idea is, okay, we need to compare them. So typically when we run the algorithms, we collect a lot of benchmarking performance data. And at the end, if we would like to show some novelty, especially in academia, what we need to do is actually to do some statistical tests. And when we do typically benchmarking studies, for example, what we really need to care about is actually the selection of the problem portfolio. For example, what type of optimization problem should be included in the set of problems we are actually benchmarking our newly developed algorithm. But then it's not about this. It's also like, what are the state-of-the-art algorithms? What we want to show, there is a novelty. And you are pretty much aware that, for example, we can easily, if we are using like statistics, we can easily cheat about this result because, for example, including different problems in the benchmark data set or like the benchmark suite can completely change the statistics. And also, for example, if we are not including state-of-the-art algorithms, we can also include like algorithms that are like they already exist, but actually we know that our algorithms are the best one. So actually those kind of concepts, when we think about what is our benchmarking suite, what are like the algorithms or the algorithm portfolio with which we are comparing our newly developed algorithm, we always can make some modification and we can always say that our algorithm is the best one. So we don't want to do this. And typically how we can solve this is actually we can select a representative learning data. So we think about that we have like all optimization problems. And instead of, for example, said, okay, we are going to do analysis only on one benchmark suite or several of them, maybe it's better to combine all optimization problems and using some smart approaches, we can select only representative data for them. And the same we can do like with the algorithms, then we can run them and we can do the statistical analysis. I'm not going to provide like more details about this. This is one topic we are pretty much interested in. We are working on it. But what I'm going to talk about today is actually something we would like to call learning for optimization or meta learning. So think about the benchmarking. The benchmarking has like three aspects, right? We have like a set of optimization problems. We have a set of algorithms. We run all algorithms on all optimization problems, and we collect a lot of benchmarking data. So when we talk about learning for optimization or the same like meta learning, what we need to do is, again, we need to have a set of optimization problems. We need to have a set of algorithms. And now what is like one of the most commonly researched tasks is actually how we can select which algorithm is the best one for a new problem instance. So think about that. We have a historical data. We have all optimization problems. And then we have like the performance of algorithms, which is achieved in some fixed budget scenario. So we run the algorithms and we know what is the performance. So we have a lot of benchmarking data that is already available from some study which is already published. So now what is the idea if we have this benchmarking data? The idea is, for example, when we have like a new optimization problem which is coming in future, try to find which of those algorithms, for example, 5, 10, 100 of them, is the best one to be selected for a new problem which is coming and it's not available in our training data. So how we can do this? We can do a lot of meta learning thing. So the idea is actually we have like this data which is already collected, and now we need to represent the benchmarking data in a format which is ready for machine learning experiments, which means first, we need to find a way of how we can extract like features which are related to describe the properties of the optimization problems. Once we have the features which describe the properties of the optimization problems, we can actually have the performance of the algorithm, and then we are building a meta model on the top of this benchmarking data, which actually can recommend to us which algorithm is the best for a new problem which is coming. Now, what is like really important here when we are doing those meta learning things is actually the feature representation. So think about, I'm talking about optimization. And then in our case, we can talk about like to be for simplicity, like single objective optimization, but the same you can do, for example, for multi-objective optimization. The idea is like that we can extract problem features that describe the characteristic of the problem instances. So for example, this can be related to multimodality of the problem, separability, and so on. But also we can have algorithm features. So think about that we can have some hyperparameters value of the algorithms that can be treated as features. And what is really, really important is actually problem algorithm trajectory features. And those features are features that describe the entire optimization search space. So think about, you have like a problem, a sphere function, and then you have one algorithm, for example, differential evolution. We run the algorithm, and then we got a lot of observed solutions like during the running. So the idea is like how we can use the observed candidate solutions by the optimization process, and based on them to see like what are like to characterize the interactions between that specific problem and that specific algorithm. So when you think about like those difference between the features, the problem features are actually can be treated as in a general way. For example, they will be the same for each algorithm, so they describe only the problems. If you think about algorithms, features can be related to some algorithm components or actually the hyperparameters. But actually, what is really important, if you want to personalize the interactions between an algorithm problem and a problem, then in that case, actually, we can talk about problem algorithm trajectory features. And then once we have those features, the idea is how we can find like that meta model. We can do like different algorithm selection approaches. So for example, starting from supervised learning, we can do regression, classification models, and also we can do this with different machine learning methods. For example, we can use random forest, XGBoost algorithm. We can use also TAP-PFN, FTT transformer, because typically what we are doing, we are transforming the benchmarking data in some tabular data, and then the idea is like we can treat the problem with some tabular models within different learning tasks. So when we are doing learning for optimization or meta learning, what is really important is also like what will be the set of optimization problems that will be involved in the training data. So this is like really important problem. Then one of the question is, among which algorithms we can select the best algorithm. So we need to have again an algorithm portfolio, then which features we are going to use, and at the end it comes like how we are going to model the learning task. If we have like a classification, if we have a regression, which models we are going to use, and all these like complex dimensions describe the entire learning scenario. So think about if you need to do like a sensitivity analysis, if you got a reviewer, the reviewer will ask all of these kind of questions that you need to do sensitivity analysis in order to show that if you have a new approach, you are going actually to, you are showing some novelty. Let's go in more detail. What is an algorithm selection? Think about that we have some optimization problem. And then for this optimization problem, we run like n optimization algorithms, and then we record the performance which is achieved after some fixed budget scenario when we run all those algorithms. So what is the idea of automated algorithm selection? Is actually if I have like this historical data for n algorithms which are already achieved on a diverse set of optimization problems, can we automatically select the best performing algorithm for a new problem instance, which actually it's not presented in the training data? So how we can do this? We already said we need to represent the problems with some features. We have like the historical data, and then what we are doing is actually we are training a machine learning method. We can do a regression task. So for example, think about those are the problems. We have m problems in our training data. We describe them with k features, we calculate them, we have the performance of different algorithms which are already achieved on those problems, and then the idea is we would like to train a meta model that can link those features to the performance of algorithm. So one possible way is actually to treat this as regression. So we are directly like predicting the performance of the algorithm. But also we have a classification. In classification scenario, actually, instead of treating this, we can find like the best algorithm for each of these like n algorithms for each problem. And then we can treat this as a multi-class classification problem. So actually, we would like our algorithm to give us like the best algorithm, the name of the best algorithm that should be run there for a new problem instance. Now, if you think, if you ask me like based on our experience, the regression works much more better. Because, for example, sometimes it can happen that two algorithms provide like the same results. And then if you want to transform the task from regression to classification, then you have like something as multi-label classification when more algorithms can simultaneously provide the same results for the same problem. But also what is the idea is actually sometimes even if you select a wrong algorithm based on the regression, you can still find like an algorithm which has like small gap between like the virtual best solver, the one which actually is the best one. And this is actually how automated algorithm selection works. And now when we have, as I said before, like those features, the idea is actually which machine learning approach is the best one? Do I need to do like regression? Do I need classification? And what is like the modeling approach I'm going to like to do this? This is another visualization with all these features, how they can be extracted. Now, not going into them, I just want to mention briefly about, we have like a problem features, what we said. When we think about problem features, these are static features that describe characteristics of an optimization problem. So no matter which algorithm in future will be run on them, those features will be the same for each algorithm. Why? Because, for example, what I said before, they describe the characteristic of the problems and think about this is from machine learning perspective, some feature space. So now the question is actually when they should be used. Sorry, we are using them when we want to investigate the complementary between different benchmark suits. So, for example, what is really, really important, what I said, think about that all these set of problems are in a benchmark suit. If we calculate the problem features, we can do them, and then we got like the feature space of the training data. But why it's important to have them? Because actually we can do some a priori analysis to see if we have overrepresentations of some feature spaces in our training data. Because when we are training our automated selection models, we don't want to have this, because if we have overrepresented feature space, this means that our automated algorithm selection will be biased to those spaces, and then we cannot handle like the spaces which are actually readily populated. Then we have algorithm features. The algorithm features actually describe the algorithm characteristics. So what it means, what I said, we can say, for example, some models of algorithms. We can treat like the hyperparameters of the algorithms, and they usually can be used actually to select complementary algorithm portfolio. And then we have like problem algorithm trajectory features. When we talk about problem algorithm trajectory features, it's actually personalization of the interactions between a specific algorithm and specific problem. So if you think about problem features, think about that those static features are always the same, no matter if I will run, for example, differential evolution or modular covariance matrix adaptation algorithm. But if I have the sphere function and then I run differential evolution and then I run like covariance matrix adaptation algorithm, I will receive completely different search spaces, which means the features are extracted based on the observed solution. So they are not in general. So actually, they describe the optimization algorithm behavior, and we are trying to personalize this. Why they are really important? In the optimization community, which is mostly similar also to the machine learning community, there are a lot of algorithms for the same, for example, which are developed. And then we don't have like any idea if some algorithm is novel or not novel. And actually, when people are benchmarking them, they are providing like some benchmark suits which are in the favor of the newly developed algorithm. So the idea is like if we use such kind of trajectory-based features, and then think about you have a newly developed algorithm and you have like all state-of-the-art algorithms, you can easily compare the trajectory. And no matter if the algorithm is represented with different names, or maybe they a little bit change the math which is behind, this means that if the algorithm is not contributing to something novel, this means that this algorithm is not providing like some novelty to the community. So if you are interested more about like those features, we have like two tutorials, one at Automated Machine Learning 2024, and there is a Gecko tutorial 2025. They are already published. You can use the QR codes, but also like there is a really nice survey article that you can see all possible different kind of features that exist and typical scenarios when they have been tested and how they are used. So just scan those QR codes and then you can be linked like to those studies. And why what we said features are important, right? So here, for example, this study, which was provided by Georgina, what we have done is actually we evaluated exploratory landscape analysis, duet-to-vec, transop, DPLA, tiny TLA features, which means exploratory landscape analysis are features which are statistically computed. So they are computed on some sample. They are problem features. So they are not about personalization, but they define like the characteristic of optimization problems. Duet-to-vec are features which are actually learned by variational encoder. Transop are features that are learned by in a supervised fashion, also by using transformer architecture. DeepLA is actually also like features of the problem features which are learned on some self-supervised learning using the samples which are actually provided to the problems. Again, there is a transformer behind them, and tiny TLA is actually topological landscape analysis or a topological analysis on the landscape of the single objective continuous problem. And now what was the idea? you can think about these problem features. Typically in natural language processing, people want to talk about different embedding models, right? And if you go to Hugging Face, you can see, for example, a lot of embedding models that exist. And then when you have a specific application, you don't know which one to be used. So typically in optimization, when we need to recommend like a new algorithm which is coming, we can have all possible, for example, 5 models. This is single objective continuous optimization. So what we have done, we collect all these state of the art. We also provide like their combinations, and then we would like to test them, which of them are the best one, if we would like to do some algorithm selection, or if we need to combine all of them in order like to provide better results. What was really important here, like in this study, the evaluation actually is done when the distribution of the train and the test data is going under different shifts. Which means, think about that we have 2 optimization problems, which are actually problem A, and then we have like problem B. And then what is the idea when we have problem A and problem B? We can generate a lot of childrens by doing some combinations between those problems. So now when we would like to evaluate like these methods, all these different representation learnings to generate like problem features, we have 4 different evaluation scenarios, which means we have done instance split. So we are sure that, for example, an instance, a children which is in the training data is also presented in the test data. So from machine learning perspective, this scenario will be the most easiest scenario that actually can work. Then we have some random split where we split like the train and test problem instances randomly. Then we have problem combination split, which means, for example, if a child of problems A and B is in the test set, the train set contains other children of problem A, but no children of problem B. So means that the trained data set can have only the children which are coming from one parent, but not from the other. And then when we have problem split, it means that if we have like 2 parents which are presented in the test data, they are not presented in the training data. So if you think about like machine learning settings, what it means, we actually put an easy machine learning setup, which will be, for example, our automated algorithm selection will work, to a most challenging one. And if you think about like problem split, you always need to think about that this is like coming as a 0 shoot scenario. Then if you see some results, you can see, for example, here are 5 different representations we tested, then their combination, also their concatenation. In the leave one instance out, which is actually the easiest scenario when we are sure that the train and test data have completely the same distribution, it means that mostly all of the features work and they are better than a baseline model. But then here, for example, we are always looking in maximization as a performance metric for the algorithm selection. Then if we go to the random split, we have like the same information. If we go to this problem combination split, when, for example, the test data, the trained data consists only of instances from one optimization problem parent, we can still have that most of the features, and they're like combinations, they provide like better result than the dummy model. But we can see that the gap between the dummy model, which is actually the baseline model, and those combinations is really small comparing to the previous cases. And also when we go, for example, now to the problem split, which is actually 0 shoot scenario, what we can see is actually, again, most of them are actually working against the dummy model. But what is the idea is actually the gaps of those winning is actually a really, really small improvement. Now, if you think about machine learning setup, we can say that in our case, this can work because people from machine learning community are usually interested for really small improvements against the baseline to publish the papers. But actually, if we think about like practical perspective, we can still see that wasting a lot of computational power and time to calculate all these features, all these performance data, and also training the model which is on the top, maybe it will not be beneficial instead of using like some simple baseline model to do the algorithm selection. So it's always like a trade-off between what we need to achieve at the end. Also, there is a study that we have conducted. Think about like we have all these kind of things. The previous study, what we have done is actually we compare different kind of representation learning techniques for problem features. And then now the idea was, okay, now, but let's see like how the model impacts, how the model is influencing this. When we think about this, you should think about that we treat the automated algorithm selection problem as a regression, as a classification task, also like pairwise classification or pairwise regression. And also you can see here we treat like completely different models. So for example, we have random forest, XGBoost, FTT transformer when we have a regression. For classification, we also use TAP-PFN, which is actually foundation model for tabular data. But what we have achieved is actually that there is no difference how we are going to model them. But we strongly believe that this outcome came because we really have like a small benchmark data on which we were testing like the differences between the modeling approaches. And now think about that what we are trying to achieve is always something like this. We have a new optimization problem, and then we would like to have a model that can tell us, okay, for this new optimization problem, this existing algorithm is the best one. And then when you talk about algorithm, it can be also like, what are the hyperparameters of the algorithm? So let's not go into these details, but we are doing also this kind of things. So maybe we know that we need to do, for example, covariance matrix adaptation evolutionary strategy, but then the next level can be, okay, now when we decided about the family of algorithm, can we please like also predict what are the best hyperparameters that should be done there without running some Optuna or some IRAs like hyperparameter optimization approach to find the best hyperparameters, so without tuning them. However, what is really, really important for us when we are doing like those kind of recommendation, it's not only to train a meta learner, which is actually based on some supervised learning technique, but the idea is like try to find like explainability, what is happening behind all that process. So we don't want to serve as a black box, but we would like to know what is happening. In this way, if you think about that, we are predicting the performance of the best algorithm. What we develop is actually an algorithm footprints, and this is actually done by Anna Nikolic. And the idea of algorithm footprints refers to the region, set of problem instances, where an algorithm performs well or poorly, with accompanying identification of the problem landscape features and their combination that contribute to this performance. So what this means, it means that, for example, we would like to find all different performing algorithms. We would like to find a feature space where some algorithm or a group of algorithms can have like a really good results, and also like a group of problem optimization problems where the algorithm cannot provide like good results or they are not working for that specific problems. But we also want to know why this is happening. What are the reasons behind them? What are like the landscape features, and also what are the interactions between those features? So how this works? Think about something like this. We are doing the same as algorithm selection. We have this machine learning data which is provided. We have problem instances. They are described by their features. So for example, we have the problem features. And also we have, for example, the performance of the algorithms which is achieved. What we have done now, even in the previous study, we trained some meta model. It can be a regression, it can be a classification, which actually provide us what will be the performance of the algorithm we are predicting when a new problem instance is coming. So now in our case, to generate this algorithm footprints, what we are doing, we have the same scenario. We are training a supervised machine learning model, which actually tries to link the problem features from the feature landscape space of the optimization problems to the performance of the algorithms which is achieved on them. Then the step here to generate it is actually we can use some local explanation techniques. In our case, we calculate the shape feature values. So for example, the shape values from game theory to explain a regression model, think about. And then when we got these explanations, we use those explanations in combination with some unsupervised learning technique, in our case like clustering, to find these different spaces of good performing and poor performing like algorithm space in the feature space. And then we can see like then the cluster properties. But to think about what we are doing, think about that here we have an examples. Each row in the first matrix can be a problems, and all these columns can be like the features. Now, the second matrix is actually a matrix where we have the performance of algorithms, which means we store the performance of these of three algorithms, which are run on these like problems which are presented in the first matrix. So what we are trying to do is actually we try to learn a supervised machine learning model that actually link these features to the performance of those algorithms. And now the idea is like, because we would like to compare like this kind of good performing reasons across algorithms, what we need to do, in our case, we need to run a multi-target regression, or we can do some multitask learning approach, which means at the same time, based on the feature metrics, we would like to predict simultaneously the performance of more than one algorithm. So to generate this algorithm footprints, what we are doing, as I said, we do like a multi-target regression. I will show an example of 3 algorithms. We just select particles form optimization, random search, and estimation of multivariate normal algorithm. What we have done is actually we try random forest neural network and multitask elastic net, because our data set was small. It's not like a really big benchmark data with a lot of training optimization problem instances. So what is the idea? What we are trying to do based on this, we are trying to predict simultaneously the performance of the 3 algorithms. Now think about that we are training such kind of model. We have a training data and we have a test data. What we are doing with the shape meta representation for each problem, which is actually in our test data, we can calculate the local explanation, which means we can calculate from one problem instance. Think about that this is, for example, the sphere function, and then these are the features. We can actually find 3 different shape meta representations, and these 3 newly generated vectors are actually how each of these features contribute to the prediction of the performance of that algorithm. So what it means here, each problem instance, now we have 3 times per depending which algorithm we are trying to explain. Now if we go next, if we took those meta representations, so think about if I have 24 problems, 24 times 3, I will have like more instances now to analyze. So for example, we have 72 probably. So what we can do here is actually we can do some dimensionality reduction, t-SNE, and then we can plot them, or PCA. And think about now, on the left side, what you can see is actually we have the symbol is presenting different algorithm, and then we have their ground truth performance of them. So what we can see on this image that we have here, for example, on the left side, one region, which is actually problem instances for which the algorithm can easily to solve them. Then in the middle, we have some green instances for which we can see, okay, those are the problem instances which are medium challenging, with the medium level challenging to the algorithms. But also we have this yellow region, which are actually poor, which is a poor region, which means that those are problem instances that are really difficult and challenging, and algorithm cannot find like an optimization result there. And this is everything is nice. So if we go through these results, we can say, okay, we can find, for example, what are like the algorithms here based on the problems. But actually what is really nice, here you can see like really nice gradiently change of the performance of the ground truth performance, which is achieved. But what if we use like this representation, and instead of doing like PCA or t-SNE, we just want to cluster them? So let's think about that. First, we estimated the number of clusters. And then on the right side, you can see the same image. But now you can see that instead of 3, what we discussed, we have a really good region where problem instances are easily to be solved, medium to be solved, and poor to be solved. But currently what you can see here is actually that we have 11, or maybe not, yes, 11 different performing regions, which means we don't have high, medium, and poor. But based on the clustering of those shapely meta representation, we can have, for example, different patterns. So think about these are the red one and the green one, and also here light blue. What we can see here is actually they are easily to be solved. So all algorithms which are actually put it here together, they can solve those instances. But actually, why we have completely different clusters? They can solve those problem instances, but the reasons behind solving them are completely different. So for example, when you have for the red region, this means that the algorithm can solve those optimization problems because problems are multimodal, convex, whatever. But if you go to the green one, maybe like the reason for easily solving is separability. So this means we are not interested in benchmarking to do only a performance and say here like the algorithms are the same or not. But what we are trying to do is actually we try to understand the patterns that lead actually to that kind of performance. And now if I go like to see what is happening in the algorithm footprint, here you have like 24 different problems. All of those problems are shifted, scaled and rotated in the space. And now each row corresponds to different algorithm. And then what you can see, for example, what is happening if, for example, like the same problem across 3 algorithms are put in the same performing region. So for example, this is true for the first instance, but also what we can see, for example, for the 9 instance, the first algorithm can easily solve the problem, but the same problem cannot be solved by the random search and particles from optimization. And then we can see, for example, what is the reason behind like this behavior. If you go even in much more like micro detail, and I took, for example, what is happening for each algorithm, for example, in each of these like problems, here you have like 3 problems. Each row is a problem, the 19, the 12, and the 20. And then you can see what kind of features, actually characteristics of the problem optimization are leading in the first row a good performance, in the second row a challenging performance. So think about if people are actually developer of newly algorithms, this can help them because, for example, if I see here that something like some features is really causing a bad performance, and this is related to some exploration power of the algorithm, this means that as a algorithm developer, I need to change those operators that actually will do exploration to my algorithm. So there are a lot of insights. It's not only you run algorithm and you get like this end result, which you try like to be the best and the state of the art, but actually you try to understand what is happening between them. And think about when people are aggregating a lot of results, especially in machine learning algorithm across all data set. This idea, what we are doing is actually, let's try to understand on different data sets in machine learning with different characteristic of the data set, why some algorithm provide like the best result. And now if you think about, I showed you an example is single objective optimization, but as I said, this is like an approach which actually it's applicable beyond it, because you just need to have features, you need to have like some algorithms, and then you can do like the same meta learning things. For example, we have already published a paper for multi-objective combinatorial optimization. There is also like for single objective combinatorial optimization. I'm not going here into details. And all the things what we are trying to do is somehow try to link the characteristic of the problems to the end performance of the algorithm. However, think about that when I introduce the feature space and I talk about optimization, I said we can have problem features. They are useful to analyze in general the problems, the optimization problems instances. But also we can have algorithm features, right? And for algorithm feature, for example, we can have some hyperparameters, we can have some models. So now what we have done, instead of trying to linking, for example, landscape features, which are actually describing the characteristics of the problems to the end performance of the algorithms, we would like to know which hyperparameters or models work best to some problem landscape. So what is the idea? Think about that we have like 24 problems. They have like different separability, multimodality, convexity conditions. What we try to do is actually, for each problem, we run a lot of different configuration for modular covariance matrix adaptation evolutionary strategy. Now the values for the models, for the hyperparameters, we use them as features. And then we do a functional ANOVA analysis that can be used for feature importance. So what we are trying to do is actually how different model, values of the model and interactions between them. So actually we have how each hyperparameter and how pairwise interactions between hyperparameters and how triplet interactions between hyperparameters contribute to explain the performance variance which is achieved on one problem there. So what we have done, we can calculate all these different kind of importance, and now we can represent the same problems instead of static problem features. based on features of how hyperparameters are important for solving them. And so, for example, then we can cluster them, and then we can see like a combination, for example, of problem instances for which we are sure that the same hyperparameters will provide like the best result. And this, when we think about hyperparameters tuning, sometimes when we do hyperparameter tuning, it's really important on which instances you are tuning your algorithm, right? And doing such kind of analysis, actually what we can find is actually that we can find a set of problem instances that share like the same hyperparameter importance, and actually further they can be used to do like sum of tuna or whatever is within mixing like problem instances that are completely different diversity or different nature, and probably they will require like different hyperparameters to achieve like the best result. We have done this for covariance matrix adaptation evolutionary strategy. So these are like 5D problems, also 30D problems are analyzed. But also we extended this to something which is particle swarm optimization framework, which means like people who are developing particle swarm optimization, they over the years with 1,000 of algorithms under this name. So what people try to do, they try to do a unifying framework where people can plug in different components active on a time, and they can generate a lot of combination. So what we can do here, I think it's around like 156 different components that can be activated. And based on our analysis, it seems that only like 5 or 6 of them are really important. So it means in the last 10 or 12 years, people develop a lot of new algorithms. The algorithms were actually published, but those new components that have been declared as novelty, they don't contribute so much to the performance. And the performance is only because of some main component and the interaction which is happening with that main component, no matter like what is the value of a newly developed component. So this publication is also available like on Archive. However, I was talking about like optimization, right? But let's think about how this can also work for large language models. So instead of optimization problem, think about that we have a data set, a prompting data set, a benchmark. And then we can have, for example, if you are doing large language models, you can have, for example, benchmark suite which is related to math reasoning. Then you can have like benchmark suite which is related to some social sciences, physics, and different kinds of things. Think about that you can do like run a lot of models there, and then you can collect the benchmark data. And when this benchmark data is actually connected, what you have for each data set, you have a lot of algorithms, and you store like the performance which is achieved. So now if you go back, instead of analyzing the components, like how different hyperparameters change here, we can use some meta features that describe the components of the large language model. So what we can do here is actually we can investigate if architectural meta features, but also like some features which are related to scaling, if we can calculate them for all of those large language models we have run. So actually we can find what are the interactions between them and what are the most important hyperparameters. And actually we can build for each data set such kind of representation, and we can cluster them. Now, for example, on your right side, what you can see is that we can find, for example, different benchmark suits in a different prompting scenario. So we investigate 0, 5, and 10 shoot learning. It means we would like to find hyperparameters which are actually important if you want to do some 0, 5, or 10 shoot learning across to some data set. So this is actually how we came to NEC laboratory, and then we were reading one paper that NEC was previously collaborating on the topic of extracting meta features. Then we sent like an email to Kirill and asked, okay, let's start collaborating. You have a really nice benchmarking data. On our side, we have something that we think that can benefit of analyzing that data. So we collaborate together, and then we come with some outcomes. The paper is still not published, but what we can find is actually that we find 6 different patterns here. So depending from the domain, if, for example, your benchmark data is coming from social sciences, or let's say from more mathematics, physics, or computer science, there is really different kind of architectural choices and also some scale parameters which are important to provide really good results. Also, if you think about, for example, zero shoot scenario, you can find like what are the most important hyperparameters. If you don't want like to provide like 5 shoot, 10 shoot, you don't want to fine tune, which kind of model will be good like for your data set. So what we are trying to do here is actually, can we describe how these hyperparameters and interactions between them actually influence the end performance of the large language model that is run on the concrete data set. So this is actually something we already work, and this is why I said, okay, I'm going to talk about optimization, but also you can also think about that those kind of things can be also done for machine learning set. So this was actually my last slide. And what I really want like to put as a take-home message is that we need to use approaches to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of a new algorithm instead of looking into its average performance only. So this means instead of doing like classical benchmarking studies, selecting the benchmark data set, and also like putting a lot of effort of running data, collecting the data, and then those tables in the papers, and putting like a bold number, instead of doing this, it's much more beneficial if we can provide such kind of analysis to know like what is happening behind, try to understand this, and try to map a scenario where the newly developed algorithm or model actually works, and we don't need to be good in general, but we need to show actually where the novelty is happening. This is the entire team. I'm not going to read all of them. You can see like there is a really nice group of PhD students, postdoctoral students. Some of them are coming, master students, and also like people who are leading the entire team. Most people are also coming starting from September. And at the end, I would like to thank actually a lot of funding, European Commission, and also the national agency in Slovenia that allow us to do like such kind of research. So I hope that I was not boring to you. And if you have like questions, please feel free to ask.